Welcome to the Growth Whisperers, where everything we talk about is building enduring great businesses. Enduring great businesses. I'm Brad Giles, and as always, joined today by my co-host, Kevin Lawrence. G'day, Kevin. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and good day to you. Did I say that right? Good day.
No,
Is that you say?
no, you
Good
didn't say
day.
right.
Good day. Good
Look,
day.
you're close, but you're not right.
Good day. Good
G'day.
day.
Yes,
Good day.
that
It
last one
sounds like
was
the
close.
A in Canada. We say A. Everyone tells us we say A. So it's like good day.
G'day. Well, it depends what part of the country you're from, but
Yes. All right. Well,
we
good
could
day to
talk about
you, my
accents
friend.
all day.
We could, and it'd be entertaining, but maybe not for the audience.
So, welcome everyone. Today we're
Yes.
talking about part 3 of our 4-part series on building an enduring great company. Now, we've spoken so far about what you need to do about people moving into 2021. Then last week we spoke about what you need to do around your strategy and vision moving into 2021. But now we're talking about execution. So, what do you need to do in terms of your execution? How do you reset? How do you build a better and improve your execution moving into 2021?
Yeah, and the idea today, we're going to break it down to 2 spots. Actual, your execution systems to make sure the most important high value stuff gets done and gets done well. And then 2, data to help you. Data is your friend. Data to help you make better decisions and evaluate down the road if your decisions were as good as you would like to believe they were. So why don't we just drop right into the first one, Brad? And it's about the execution systems. And basically, having things to make sure that those priorities are identified and completed. And we kind of, again, breaking down like in our 3 ideas for each of these, like we've done in the last couple episodes. So the root of execution is it is about the basics. It's relentless execution of the basics, mastering the basics, staying on the basics, not forgetting the basics, and not getting tricked by advanced things when you still haven't got the basics handled. So it's all about the basics. And the first most basic of the basics is really being clear on your top 3 to 5 things your company needs to achieve this year. So you've got financial targets. It's important to know those. But these are top 3 to 5 projects. We call them priorities, goals, initiatives. It could be like a version of OKRs, whatever you want to call it. The top 3 to 5 projects that the company needs to deliver on to move ahead and to be better, stronger, and ideally have a great year. And as simple as it sounds, a lot of companies struggle with this.
So maybe you've already got a one-page plan. Maybe you've already got, like in Australia, our financial year goes from July to June. And so maybe that's where your plan is aligned around. And maybe you've already got a current set of 3 to 5 priorities for the year. And if so, that's awesome. But
Yep.
this is the time of renewal. And what we're trying to say is, so look at those 3 to 5. Are they working? Are they not working? Use the opportunity that this new year presents to say, well, are they working? What can we learn from the first 6 months or 3 months, whenever you built your plan? And what do we need to learn moving forward? Are they right? How can we improve our priorities as we move forward? Priorities is the essence, as you said, of execution planning or great execution planning. But here's an interesting one. Is there an owner? So for your first priority, most
Yes.
important thing you've got to do, does somebody have accountability for it? Is someone going to say to you
Yes.
in a few weeks or whenever it is, this is the update?
Yeah. And as I like to call it, it's like one throat to choke. Who, or one person to yell at, or one person to pat on the back if we're in person, i.e., one person stays up at night if it's not getting done. A single point of accountability is a key. Second is it clear what success looks like? And I see these objectives in a lot of companies that are these beautifully crafted statements, and they're utopian in their language, and they're just beautiful. But there's no way in hell of knowing if it's ever done.
Yeah.
They could say yes before they started.
Yeah.
So having a clear, ideally financial outcome or tangible outcome. Sometimes there's no financial outcome. It's board approval, right? Or certification completed, or submitted to whichever, agency, whatever it happens to be. But some sort of so clear 3 to 5 priorities, clear owner, clearly ties back into the 3 to 5 year strategy and your flywheel and your strategy map and your BHAG, ties into all that good stuff. And then you got a number to tell you whether you're on track and or have delivered the value you expected.
Awesome. And maybe you could tweak or improve those, as I said, if you've already got them, but use
Yep.
this time in January. Now, moving on to number 2, having a calendar that matches your priorities. Now, another way to put that is, does your calendar set your priorities, or do your priorities set your calendar? So I'm too busy. I haven't got time to work on the most important thing in the company, or which we see, right? And that's why
Yeah, my hair's on fire and I got to do this and I got to do this and I got to do this and I got to do this. And that's why we set priorities, because the problems don't go away.
Yeah.
You just got to get better at prioritizing what you deal with and prioritizing your time. So I love what you said there, Brad. Does your calendar set your priorities, or does your priorities set the calendar? And by the way, if we go back and do a forensic audit on your calendar and just look at how many hours actually drove to the company's number 1 priority or the number 2 priority, it could be a little bit shocking and maybe a little bit uncomfortable for some people, because we get so caught up in what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, it's at the basis of good execution as well. Like if you let your email inbox dictate what you're doing, if you are carried like the wind, imagine a leaf in the wind, it's carried whichever the wind goes is the way that you're going to do. You're not in control of your calendar. And what we're saying instead is identify the priorities, and then let those priorities dictate your calendar so you can get the most important things done.
Yeah, and then you can go and look at all the activities that you do and take some time and think, well, what do you need to stop doing? What do you need to sharpen up or maybe do better or more efficiently, or do, shorten the amount of time you spend? Or what do you need to just drop and not do? Now, whether drop means drop on someone else's desk, as in delegate, or just don't do it because it's low value. If you're working on deals that generate your company a couple $1 million of gross profit, and then you're caught in a project that saves $2 of gross profit, maybe just let the $2 go. Yeah. And focus on the 2 million. And there's a lot of times where we're focused on $2 when we could be focused on $2 million.
Bad prioritization.
And it happens exactly. And that's why, numbers or money or time or whatever it is are all great measures to look at. So what do you gotta, based on evaluating where you're spending your time, what do you got to change? And feel free to be ruthless. I got a great compliment from a person I spoke to today. He was referred to me as another coach or consultant that could be a great addition to our team. He's like, I love that we have a 25-minute appointment. And I said, why? He said, well, because you're leaving a buffer, you're leaving time. And 25 minutes is crystal clear. My assistant said he has 25 minutes. Yeah. And for me, it gives me a buffer in between, but it's also, I don't do 60-minute meetings with people I don't know. It's either 10 or 25, right? 10 to be, so I can get, you understand the time slot, 10 for on a 15-minute slot.
You're in control of your calendar.
Yeah, I have to be. Otherwise sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it feels like I'm out of control. That's a whole other story. Okay, cool. Well, let's move along to number 3. And you need meetings that help drive excellent execution of the goals. And I'll tell you, we talk about this a lot with our clients. The weekly meeting is the bane of many people's existence. Now, we've been teaching people how to do effective weekly meetings for years. And I have to say, the weekly meetings that my team does, or that we're part of, are outstanding. And I'm not one to brag unless it is damn good, but it's damn good. Mm-hmm. We have 90 minutes a week. We review where we check in with each other, wins and challenges. We review where we're with client work and stuff, new work that we need to deal with on potential opportunities. We review every one of the 5 company goals. Once a month, we review the individual goals. Once a month, we review our CEO sessions. And then we probably get through 5 or 6 other strategic discussions where people are stuck or they have opportunities every single week. And then we have a little show and tell where we show some of our best work. And then somebody teaches, because we're consultants and coaches. So we have a 10 to 15 minute education session every single week, and everyone takes a turn. So even this week, Janice, the glue that holds the firm together, did her own education session, and it was awesome. And it inspired a lot of us to buy Christmas gifts for other people. Well, the point of it is that it's a very tight agenda with time limits. I don't run it perfectly, but the content is there every single week. And we have, at least half of the meeting on the really high value of putting our brains together and troubleshooting, which is the identical format that everybody else should use, a very similar format.
Well,
But
because
what
it
isn't,
works.
it works. The difference is that we are using our brains, not just using our ears. We are not just listening to updates. We are spending half the meeting digging in and working through today's or this week's challenges and opportunities, where many people's weekly meetings become updates. And I just spoke probably for a minute and a half straight, and people would do that for 15 minutes in some of these meetings. And you'll wonder why people are bored to death. And you'll wonder why they're disengaged and they start doing their email and everything else.
You know what? If you're a leader, you have one single tool to hold people accountable, to get people excited, to measure the progress of the team and the individual, and that is the meeting. You've only got one tool. Okay.
Yes.
And so what we're saying in the context of January, if you look at your meetings, what's working and what's not working, and how can you, in the context again of the renewal mindset, which is the new year, how can you begin to improve, think about best practices around the weekly? I'd say specifically, it could be the daily as well, but specifically the weekly, and improve it. What's 1 or 2 things you could do to make your weekly meeting better?
Yes. It's the biggest potential opportunity for companies to create more value is the weekly. And by the way, as a side note, I started talking about my team. Because we review the 5 company goals every week, we reviewed them 13 times by the time we get through the quarter. Yeah. You can slip 1 week. You maybe could take the chance to slip in 2 weeks. You ain't going to slip 3 weeks. You're going to get on it and practically do an all-nighter, not to show up week 4 looking like someone who shouldn't be on the team, including myself. It's just, it's a no-brainer. All right, let's move on. So now we're talking about the data. Is the data to make sure that the right decisions are made and knowing when we make the wrong ones. And it's great to go by gut feel, but we should use data to guide the decisions and evaluate them as well. And when we go into excellent execution and winning next year this year, is that the first thing to really know is to use data to help us know what great looks like on our biggest goals and priorities before we commit. We talked before about having numbers and measures, but this is where your finance team or your data team or whoever it is that's the source of data in your company can really help you, pulling historical data to see the trends of things, helping you understand today, helping you to project and forecast what you might be able to hit in 2021.
So what we're saying here then is if you look at the way priorities are set or decisions are made, how much of that is from the gut? Okay. Mm-hmm. And as you look to 2021, what's like 1 or 2 things that you could do to try to make less decisions from the gut and more decisions from data? Now, maybe it's having an agenda at meetings. That's a nice one. Maybe it's bringing the person who brings the data or having someone accountable for data within meetings. So how can you use data more effectively when you're making these decisions? And what's like 1 or 2 things you could do in January to improve that system?
Yes. And often as companies grow, there becomes kind of one source of the truth. And if your systems are amazing, it could be the system. Otherwise, it's often partnering with your finance team around the data because they generally seem to be the best source, but your company may be different. So the second thing is, how do we leverage data or KPIs in your meetings so you can help to make real time decisions? One, real time where you're at. It can help you to make real time decisions. And Brad, what have you seen there that companies have done real well?
Well, what what I've seen is having a dashboard in a meeting. Okay. So I've seen teams who they're first of all, they begin with an agenda. Okay. And then what do we need to do from that agenda? What data do we need to have? Now, we don't need to have reports that are 50 pages long. No one's going to read it. It's not going to work. But a simple dashboard that aligns with the meeting agenda. The first thing we're going to talk about is employee net promoter score. The second thing is customer net promoter score. Okay. And then we're going to talk about cash flow, excuse me. And then we're going to talk about new sales. Whatever that is, and that data is there, and everyone keeps coming back to that.
Yeah. And it's basics again, but a lot of companies, even in their weekly meetings, don't have a lot of data. I mean, ideally, you should have some good data in your dailies and for sure in your weeklies. But how do you dial it in further? And there should be a handful of KPIs you look at or numbers that you look at on a weekly basis that give you a sense of where you're at and let you know if you need to tweak or change. And the key from a company level is you could brainstorm with your team, whether it's 4 or 6 or 8 or 10. You should be able to look at them and look at them on a chart so you can see the trends and where it's going compared to last year. It just gives you a pulse. I had one company, I used to run a monthly meeting with them, and we had 25 KPIs. We would go through them in about 5 minutes because
Yeah.
we'd click and look at every single chart. Awesome, 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 awesome. Whoa, let's talk about that one later. Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay. And just it gives you a real quick pulse if they're presented well. So how do you do it? Help you to make decisions and know when you need to have a debate or make a change.
The only other thing I'd make a comment on here, and that's waterfall graphs. So if we
Mm-hmm.
look at our customers, what's the gross profit as a quick comment? What's the gross profit that we make from each of our customers? Who's the best and who's the worst? And if we've got 30 customers, making a graph that goes from highest to lowest, and then focusing on the bottom 20%, let's say, how can we either exit those customers or improve that gross profit
Yep.
dollars? Waterfall graphs in that type of environment can be massively impactful.
Massive. Waterfall graphs and my others is bridges.
Mm,
EBITDA bridge, gross margin bridge, a bridge for almost everything. I've got one CFO, amazing CFO, and we have a bridge for almost everything. And bridge shows what it was expected to be in the budget and the 10 variables that are a part of that number and how each of them might have changed to what the number is today. So income statement, you got the budget and the actual.
yeah.
It's showing every single variable to help explain the gap between the two. And my gosh, I start drooling when I see bridges because it answers. No, I do. I'm a numbers guy. It answers the questions, and you get away from, well, I think it's this. It's like, no, it's right there. I know. And by the way, side note, Alan Miali, who ran Ford for many, many years, came from Boeing, spectacular CEO. He's quoted and saying that, and it's a great article. Don't know if it was Forbes or another magazine. He was quoted as saying, I got tired of listening to my executives tell me it was all good. And then at the end of the quarter or the end of the month, it wasn't.
Yeah.
So he said enough stories. They would review 300 charts every week in their weekly meeting. It was a data meeting, not an opinion meeting. And all of a sudden, shockingly, the company gets better and performs better. All right, let's move on. The final thing is that knowing your number one goal, and you should know the most important thing you got to achieve in the coming year. Knowing that, how are you using data to help you win? How are you using data to help you understand the current state of that goal and to track progress on that goal? and maybe do some predictive analytics or some correlation analysis or anything that you need to do to basically know how you can dial it in. Because sometimes, I had one company that on the third business day of the month, they could predict the end of the month's revenue
Mm.
within 2 or 3% on the third business day, right?
And it makes better decisions. They
Of
would have been
course.
so much better. I had a similar example where a customer said they were getting daily feedback from their field, and they said, "We've got a 4 to 6 week advantage over our competitors because we're able to turn things around much, much quicker." And so, what we're really saying here is, so what's the most important thing that you've got to do as a company in 2021? And in terms of January, how can you get more data or more important data or look for different types of data or graphs to help you to understand how you're performing there and
Yes.
help to make better decisions around that number one priority?
So I'll give an example of one of my favorite is a company I work with in the United States. They're a sales organization, and they had some people saying, well, we want to see if maybe marketing can help to do lead generation and do this. And on the conversation we had, and almost everybody said, look, I want us to be able to prove the value of the marketing that you're doing for lead gen. And I want to be able to, they're probably spending a couple $100,000 a year. I want to be able to argue for you to have $10 million a year to spend on marketing because you're
Yeah.
so damn good, right? Well, damn right. They came back, a year and a half later. They ran the data and they're proving it. Now, they're not going to get $10 million this year, but they'll probably get many million dollars because they've shown dollars spent in terms of what happens and the impact on the gross profit and bottom line of the company based on this. They've done outstanding. By the way, it helped them through COVID like you wouldn't believe to get new customers. But they've proven it with Daddy. So now we can back up the truck of cash and dump it into marketing, obviously monitoring it very closely because they've got a proven system for generating new leads, where before they fully relied on sales, marketing was the support service.
And so they're making better decisions because of that data. And that's what we're really
Notably.
trying to get here. So, in terms of the data, so the broad headline here is about data to ensure that you're making the right decisions. In terms of January, looking forward, how can you get more data? How can you get the right data? How can you improve the data that you're getting? So let's go all the way back to the beginning of execution. So there are two broad headings in terms of building an enduring great company and what you've got to do in January around that. So first is execution systems to ensure the most important priorities are identified and completed. So the first one was clear priorities, 3 to 5 of them, that they're identified and that you're providing them or they have tangible outcomes. We know when we cross the finish line. Number two is having the calendar match your priorities. So is your calendar setting your schedule, or are your priorities setting your schedule and your calendar? And then number three, meetings that help drive excellent execution of the goals. So how can you improve your meetings looking into 2021? Just pick 1 or 2 areas. Then we move to the second main point, which is having the right data to make the right decisions and know when the wrong ones have been made as well. So here we've got 3 elements. Number one is know what great looks like for decisions and goals before you commit. So how can you improve the data in your decision-making process? Appoint a person or find a way to improve the quality of your decision-making using data. Number two is how do you leverage data in your meetings to make and manage decisions? So finding things like we said around bridges or waterfall graphs or other types of ways to improve the quality of the meetings. And then number three, what's the most important priority for 2021 for your organization? And then how can you improve the execution of that goal Using data. How can you understand the performance of that goal more deeply using data?
Great summary there, Brad. So the whole idea here is, how do we improve our operating system and get better performance next year? It's been a crazy year. We want to reset, refocus, and do the stuff that helps us to drive better results. So thanks for listening. This has been the Growth Whisperers with Brad Giles, and I'm Kevin Lawrence. For the YouTube version, go to YouTube and type in the Growth Whispers. To reach Brad, evolutionpartners.com.au, and for myself, lawrenceandco.com. All the best for an awesome 2021. It's going to be an awesome year, and now you've got some more tools to help it to be that way. Have a great week.